Welcome to Dub Nation, the official show of the Utah Warriors of Major League Rugby. Great to have you with us. I am Jarom Jordan alongside Banksy, and we are loving the newly announced alternate jerseys, the Cottonwood Canyon City Edition kit.
Unbelievable. And a great nod. Oh, go ahead. Roll a video, man. You don't need me.
Let's
just look at it.
I believe that if we are honest with ourselves, that the most fascinating problem in the world is who am I? Because it's so mysterious. It's so elusive. This problem has fascinated me for many years, and I've made many inquiries. Who am I?
Yeah, oh. Then I keep dame to my Santa Loca. In the kitchen, whipping that dope up, you can smell a odor. Pug on pitch it, we gon' hit it like we Sammy Sosa. Put that Billy to the limit, you can smell a odor. Oh, spinning, call me chulo when I'm pulling up in that two-door. Diamonds different color, uno. All these hundreds on me, mommy made my pockets look like sumo.
Those look legit, right? I love it. I love it.
To quote the great poet and philosopher of our time, Matt Damon, you like apples? How you like them apples?
How about it? I love the nod to the snow, the pine green. It's beautiful. It really is. And yeah, it plays on the Cottonwood Canyons, local to Salt Lake City, the granite as well. Design is very awesome. I think the Utah Warriors, obviously we're biased, but have crushed it with the alternate jerseys 2 years in a row now. The Yosepa and now the Cottonwood Canyon City Edition kit. Pretty cool. So Utah Warriors are going to wear this on May 21st against Austin. Get your tickets to that game and order your jersey now on warriorsrugby.com.
Make sure you get it, man. I've said it time and time again. We have the best looking kit in Major League Rugby. Next year, you'll probably see somebody knock off that design. That's how good the kit is. Our red away strip from last year got knocked off by the Crusaders in New Zealand for this year, So people are taking notice of what the Warriors are doing, and this is the latest edition of that. Don't miss the Cottonwood Canyon edition of the Warriors jersey, this new city edition.
Shout out to Billy Rathule. Happens to be our producer. We like him. Okay, we're live on the Utah Warriors Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube accounts. Subscribe to the podcast version on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud. Send in questions and comments if you've got them. Here's what's on the show today. We'll recap the loss at DC. This one was a bummer. We'll talk to Ali Kilifi, one of our favorites. We'll recap Week 11, preview Week 12 in MLR. Big home game with Seattle coming up this weekend. Of course, Ali Kilifi, former Seawolf. That'll certainly come up. Joey Backey was mic'd up at practice. That was fun. And the USA Rugby CEO, Ross Young, will join us to discuss, obviously, Utah Warriors Rugby and MLR, but also the bids for the 2031 and 33 World Cups. How close are we to that? Some great news, and work being done by USA Rugby to try and secure those. We'll chat with him. But first, let's recap what happened at DC. Obviously, Banksy, you and Ashley called this one on the radio. This was a disappointing loss. 0-9 DC. Utah has a big lead. Unfortunately, has a chance to win the game late with the Calvin Whiting kick and missed it and loses this one 22-21.
There was a lot of positives to take out of this game. It's always difficult to lose one, especially by a close margin. I think the fourth or fifth game the Warriors have lost this year by 3 or less.
Yes.
So we're talking about single-digit losses, but, it doesn't make it any easier losing by a little. It's still a loss.
1, 2, 3, and 3. Okay, let's jump to the 6th minute. This is what we were hoping for, a quick start, right? Mikey Teo takes the ball in the breakdown, just jumps over it, underhand pass to Caleb Makini for an easy try, 7-0 early.
It was a great look from Mikey, and, it was just a heads-up play. He got involved early and often to try and force the issue in this game and really was a difference maker playing up from the number 15 position.
Yeah, just hops over the breakdown. Nice little underhand scoop to Caleb Makini, 7-0, awesome. Dotted down under the post. You don't need a conversion. Okay, 23rd minute. Junior Sal gets trying the corner, threatened Palamo, drew in a crowd. Unconverted try. Utah still up 7-5. Later in the 27th minute, 1 meter out, offside on DC. Utah still didn't punch it in. But 3 minutes later, Calvin Whiting made a penalty goal. Calvin Whiting was the kicker in this one. Cliven Lopes is still out, and he got the nod over Caleb Makini here.
Makini has struggled with his place kicking duties. Calvin's been great, and he did miss a clutch one in this game. We'll get to that, but pretty reliable with the boot, as he was last year in fill-in duties. It's a position that he's taken up and knows well, so he's pretty comfortable taking those kicks for sure.
Yeah, 87% last year was incredible. One of the league leaders in MLR. Okay, 32nd minute. A little scary moment for Mikey Teo. Gets hit while he's kicking, and his head hits the ground pretty hard. He went off to be checked. He would luckily later re-enter the game after this.
So it was a well-timed hit from Kalapu, and it just caught Mikey off balance, and he kind of bounced a little bit there with the back of his head, and that's always a scary moment when the back of your head bounces like that. Thankfully, he never lost consciousness. He went off and got checked due to concussion protocols. They took a look, and he was available to return for the second half.
And perhaps DC took advantage of no Teo in there for a minute because Penny Lasanga had a try down the sideline where a couple missed tackles from the Utah Warriors. Now it's 10-10. Calvin Whiting had a penalty goal with 37th minute to make it 13-10. And then in extra time of the 40th, the Warriors had a goal line stand to prevent another try. So they go into the break up 13-10, feeling all right. 43rd minute in the second half, Mikey Teo's back. A try after a line break and a string of phases by Tyler Fisher. Conversion missed, but it's 18-13 as Utah tacks on 5 more.
It was a great break from Fisher, and he was good in this match all day long. Really kind of one of the bright spots for his work rate and what he got done for this Warriors team. And it was just a big break, and then the gap opens up here for the Warriors. So things kind of starting the way they did in the other half to really, fingers crossed, look like they were going to start going the Warriors' way.
And they almost did. But yeah, this try eventually tacks on 5 to make it 18-10 as the Warriors came out there in the first couple of minutes of the second half. So it's for 6 minutes of the first half as the ball gets wider, and then 3 minutes in the second half here, Utah ends up scoring a try here as Mikey Teo just picks it and goes right. He's just a direct dude. He takes no, only nonstop flights to the try zone, just straight in, which is awesome. Okay, 48th minute. Calvin Whiting tacks on a penalty goal from about 40 out, 21-10. 2 minutes later, this could have probably won the game. 5 meters out, Utah holds on, turns it over. 21 points ended up not being enough in this one, so that was costly. Then 10 minutes later, a controversial yellow card on Thomas Tuivau for a dangerous tackle. 1 minute later, Jamison Fa'anona-Schultz scores a try, conversion no good, 21-15. To the 65th we go. Still playing down a man. Connor Byrne catches a DC kick and calls mark. It was a very heady play for the rookie. I was very impressed by this moment.
It was a great moment, and to do it under pressure the way he did as well. I mean, literally almost standing on the try line. And then DC had to back up again because they tried to jump in front of the restart and got in trouble for it. So it was a great little phase and a great moment from Connor Burns to take that mark and then replay the Warriors and ease the pressure.
Yeah, one of their locks just jumps and blocks it, and it's like, bro, this is a free kick. You're getting the line out here in a second. Just calm down. And then we fast forward to the 74th minute. Thomas Tuivasa has been allowed back in the game. He actually comes out. James Mackey comes in. James Mackey gets a yellow card for offside. This was a big turning point because 1 minute later, DC scores a try with Utah down a man.
There was a couple of calls late that were really questionable. Mackey being punished after only being on for a few minutes, never having been warned. The Warriors have been onside all day. DC had been warned for being offside and coming up quickly several times and given penalties to Utah for it. So to give that harsh a penalty in that position, I thought was really, really, really brutal.
Even then, DC is like trying to lose this game still. Down 6. DC knocks it on, but Utah loses a scrum inside the 5, and then DC scores a try. It was Vinton Coleman. Scuffle after, 22-21. Utah certainly had control with its own scrum, could have alleviated that pressure. Unfortunately, got blown up in that scrum, and that was the game-winning moment for DC.
They just wanted it more in this game, and it really kind of showed in the body language through about the last 20, 25 minutes of the match. They were playing with more urgency. They were playing with more energy, and I really feel like they were just more motivated at home to come away with that win.
Okay, even then, there's 5 minutes left. Utah still has a shot here because Angus McClellan jackals the ball with 28 seconds left in this game, and Calvin Whiting, in extra time, like at Seattle last year, has a chance to make a kick to win. And he had plenty of boot on this, but unfortunately pushed it just right. Otherwise, this is a game winner.
The wind was swirling all night, and it affected several kicks, not just for touch, but place kicking and the strategic kicking game. It was going to be a long kick. It was always going to be hard. You just kind of hoped he could curl it round, and it was another one that wasn't meant to be for the Utah Warriors.
Almost there. Okay, a couple game notes off this. First road loss to DC. Scoregami. That means this score has never happened in Major League Rugby. Someone keeps track of that. That's fun. 22-21. Second game in Warriors history, lost by 1. Okay. Second longest losing streak in Utah history now with 4 gamers. 7 games back in 2019. And now 2-7. You talked about the close margins there. Look at this. This season could be very different if Utah pulled off a couple of these wins here by 3 or fewer.
And we're really talking about the difference in scoring early in most of those matches, and if the Warriors had come away with 3 or even 5 points in some of those matches, how different they would have been. But, you have to take care of business when you get in those positions. And too many times inside the opposition 22, the Warriors can't close the deal to their credit or to, their inability or inefficiencies in handling the ball. It just hasn't been enough this year.
Shout out to first cap guys, Zion Going and Tara Schramm in this game, which is pretty awesome. And then first 15, Paul Mullen, you see in the upper right as the tight head prop. So congratulations to those guys. Good to see him in there. Okay, let's look at a couple scores from Major League Rugby in round 11. DC, of course, defeats Utah. Toronto beats NOLA handily. 8 tries for the Arrows, 89 points combined in that one.
It was a big match from the Arrows, making a statement, putting themselves in a playoff position. The Arrows are for real running late into the season.
Seattle edges San Diego. Huge game there. AJ Alateam with 14 points kicking.
It was a great match from Seattle, who really took it to their old rivals since the inception of MLR. Those two teams have been going back at it. Seattle has kind of found their identity here a little bit, and they come into Utah with all the momentum this weekend.
Big game. We'll preview it later. LA edges Houston 17-12. Gets some payback after losing earlier in the season. Giltinis won 5 in a row, but Oreni Ai suspended for 3 weeks. They were already on their third string fly half.
They weren't the third string fly half. He's the coach of the team and put his boots on to come in and play. So it'll be really interesting to see what they do to fill that gap, because he's been good for the team in his play at 42, 43 years old. He's been electrifying for the Giltinis and really a big part of their resurgence to form.
He'll be 46 when he returns in 3 games. Not just kidding. Austin blows out Dallas 55-3. Austin's playing great rugby right now.
Austin been the class of the league all year. They were on the outside looking in last year and are playing with that chip on their shoulder.
Okay, let's take a look at the standings. Beginning in the West, Austin on top of LA by 5 points. San Diego right behind him. Seattle 1 point out of the playoffs, but certainly right there. at 5-5. Big game this weekend. Houston right there, obviously a 5-horse race. Utah is set, not mathematically, but essentially eliminated from playoff contention after last week. Dallas, of course, 0-10 with 4 points. On the east side, New England playing great. Atlanta right there as well. Toronto tied with New York, but has the advantage at the moment. New York does have a game in hand, of course. NOLA tracking behind in DC now with its first win because they beat the Warriors.
Only 7 points separates first from fourth place in the East, so it's still very much wide open for the Eastern Conference. And you've got to feel like Rugby ATL are going to be there. Toronto's going to be fighting for it. Rooney is really showing up, and a big signing from Rooney this week as well, with the former All Black coming to play in New York. And, you know, can New England, with this 8-1 run that they're on right now, hold on to that form and continue to perform when the pressure's on?
Okay, round 12 looks like this. Houston hosting Toronto, NOLA hosting Austin, DC and Dallas in the kind of bottom two battle there. Utah hosting Seattle. We'll talk about that in a minute. Rooney with New England. That'll be good. That's a rivalry there. And then San Diego Rugby ATL. That's a fantastic matchup as well.
Every single one of these games has consequences, whether it's for a playoff race or to play spoiler in a playoff race. They all matter.
Absolutely. Okay, make sure you join us this Saturday. It's going to be a good one.
This Saturday at Zions Bank Stadium, tickets are still available. See your Utah Warriors take on Seattle in what has become a grudge match every single time these two teams play. It is a slugfest that lots of times comes down to whoever has the ball in the final 60 seconds. So make sure you go to warriorsrugby.com. Bleacher seats starting as low as $12. Get your tickets now and join Dub Nation for the best home field advantage in Major League Rugby. They need you, Dub Nation, to be loud. It makes a difference for the boys when they're on the pitch. So go to warriorsrugby.com now.
Absolutely. Big game for Utah. We'll preview it coming up. Well, there's a player on the Utah Warriors who used to play for Seattle. Of course, he's in his second year with Utah Warriors, but he knows this team better than anybody else playing Seattle. He is Ali Kilifi, the USA Eagle as well, former BYU Cougar. And we welcome Ali to the show tonight on Dub Nation. Ali, great to have you, man. We'll bring in Ali here in just a second. There he is. What's up? How you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm doing good, Jarom. How's everything?
Everything's good. Well, it's better that you're here now. Let's go, baby.
Yeah.
You're my favorite Tesla employee / rugby player. I want you to know that.
Yeah, man. It's I'm a big fan of Tesla. I know a lot of people.
Shouts out to my boy Ricky Tinker, by the way. He hit me up when you came on board over there and was like, "Do you know this guy Ollie?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know Ollie." So another Washington guy in Utah now. So the two of you guys have that connection over at Tesla.
Yeah, Ricky's a good dude. So
what's it like working for Tesla?
I'm actually not right now. So I was going to, but it's just with the schedule and stuff. I wasn't able to go there, you know. But
full-time rugby.
Yeah, I'm full-time rugby this time. It's pretty different just because I've usually just worked throughout my career, so going full-time is a little different adjustment, you know, here in Utah. But no, it's still good. It's good.
So let's talk about adjustments. How's the locker room doing? Obviously, you're one of the senior leadership members of the core of this team in your time here now. How are the boys handling another disappointing loss and now the preparation looking ahead to Seattle?
I mean, I guess they're handling like anyone else could imagine. You know, it was tough, especially at DC. That DC loss was really hard. Just to kind of come away with that and being able to be so close to try to take it and not being able to walk away with it. So it's tough. I'm not, you know, just to be honest, like, you know, a lot of the boys' morale is you know, it's a lot funner when you're winning and you're getting those results. But as far as playing for each other and, you know, coming in every day, training, working hard for each other, I think that'll always be there, you know. So the boys are always showing up for each other every week, which is good to see. So.
Yeah, it's certainly tough because this team's talented and obviously have underperformed given the talent. You guys know you're good. You've lost 4 games by 1, 2, 3, and 3. It's right there to your grasp, right? So what do you feel like is a missing element that maybe you can put into play this week and try and upset Seattle?
I think now, especially where we're at in the season, with the playoff picture kind of starting to pull away from us at the moment. I think right now there's just nothing to lose. I think that's kind of the attitude now with the boys, is that we just need to go in and just first have fun. So going in there, have fun. Second is just we're in a position to be that team to just ruin people's evenings, So, that's unfortunately that's the truth, right? With the record we're at right now, there's nothing. We're not going to lose anything now, and so I think the boys are kind of just like, well, let's just come in and try to put up the best performance, especially at home. We try to do the best we can at home, and give something our fans can be happy with, and just try to ruin Seattle's day. That's kind of
I like that you smile a little bigger every time you say ruin somebody's day. There really is got to be a dark horse mentality now, because a lot of teams in this situation have a tendency to turn on each other and kind of, the beast eats itself from the inside out. This team hasn't done that. You guys are still very supportive of each other. And like you said, you show up to practice and you back each other. So now it's got to turn spoiler. The last time you two met between Seattle and Utah, it was a close match that came away with a pretty hype performance from one Ali Kilifi at the final whistle.
Yeah.
How are you adjusting now to preparations this week, knowing what's at stake?
I think when it's Seattle week, the boys, they're one of those teams that we naturally try to get up for. We don't have to do much to try to get pumped up for Seattle. They're kind of for them personally, we're friends. A lot of us know each other mutually from each team, but when it comes to rugby, we just want to go as hard as we can at each other, and so I think this week it's more about just trying to get all of our process in a row. Right now, there's little disciplines that are kind of creeping into our game that is giving us those results that we don't like. So we're trying to just clean those up. Hopefully, try to find our way into the try zone, because right now we don't have problems getting there, but it's just getting that push into the try zone, which is so this week Davies and Robbie have been doing some real good work with us on trying to tighten that part of our game. So
do you think the playing field situations in Major League Rugby has something to do with that? Because we have the fortune of having a proper sized rugby field here in Utah, where a lot of teams are playing on smaller American football sized fields that don't have the width that I think the Warriors are used to playing and practicing on. Do you think that's a factor in just the physical facilities and what we're able to do?
It definitely does play a role. LA is a big example, right? Like that field is a proper football field, and because of that, the physicality has to go up, just because there's limited space. So all we can do is just bang each other out, just hit each other and just try to. But in our field, because it's a proper rugby field, you have the proper space to actually run plays, run moves, and I think there is a major difference, and you see that when you travel, especially as a player, you see it in
and for those that may not be aware, a rugby field typically is about 15 meters wider than your classic American football field. So when we play in some of these venues that have these smaller spaces, it makes a huge difference in the type of rugby you have to plan for, knowing you're just not going to have that room on the outside for guys like Mikey and Mika and Connor, who's been great, and Tomasi to play in the space that they're used to playing in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you hit it dead on the head. So,
yeah. What do you think of the Cottonwood Canyon City Edition jerseys?
Oh, they're sweet, man. Yeah, when they announced it and I saw it, I just I think all the boys were just sharing it on the groups and stuff, and the boys were super excited. I think when it comes to kit and just those sort of things, I think Utah probably takes the lead in the league as far as fashion and style, and and I don't think any team can raise their hand and be like, yeah, we have kit like Utah. I think they kind of stand alone as far as like that. Like those Cottonwood Canyon uniforms. I mean, everyone's kind of trying to be on the roster so they can at least get in there, play in it. And so even last year's jerseys, those Yosepa jerseys, man, like, yeah, we loved them. So
that blue and white was slick for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if Billy made the new ones this year, but I think he might have a job there with the fashion.
We'll keep him on for another little bit. He earned another season.
Design, so yeah. No, they're awesome.
So with your position, obviously you coach through the selects, and we've seen a lot of guys that got some time with the selects now playing up through the first team. Young kids like Tomasi, that as well as Connor, who's gotten a lot of minutes. How exciting is it for you as a coach and now as a teammate to see those young guys come up through the ranks and see the pathway system work for the Warriors?
Oh, it's awesome. It's always good to see someone that you've been working with and you help develop a little bit and be able to kind of make it and eventually become your teammate. It's I think the cool thing is that relationship I have with them, me, Tomasi, on the field is a little different. We just have that camaraderie right away. So like, so when things do get sort of, serious at training and stuff, we can kind of crack jokes with each other and play around and we just mesh a lot just because we've been, technically together since August, like September, August. So we have that, sort of bond, which is it's awesome to see. We have Taurus just came up, and
Taurus was great. Congrats on his first cap too.
Yeah, so it's always cool to see kids that you worked with and for them to step in and eventually shine. And even Connor had a few tries here this season, which is cool to see. So
yeah, he's a burner. He's fun to watch, and we're excited to see Taurus some more. So. Well, Ollie, we appreciate the time, man. We know it's a big game with Seattle coming up Saturday night at 8 Mountain Time at home in Harriman. Best of luck in that game, and we appreciate the time, man.
Yeah, awesome, man. Thank you again. Appreciate you guys. You guys do a lot for us. So, keep up the good job. So,
thanks, Ollie. We appreciate
it.
Ollie Kilifi, two-time World Cup vet, USA Eagle, Utah Warriors prop. He's been an awesome veteran leader on this team. Coached the selects like we talked about, and so we always have to talk to Ollie the week of Seattle. I mean, he's
such a great dude to have in your locker room and as part of your organization. He's played rugby for longer than a lot of guys in the league have been alive when you think about it. So the knowledge that he has, the heritage, the influence that he has in wanting to pass on the best of the game to the next generation, it's really invaluable for what the club is trying to do.
I got to call him old like that. Like, what's
I'm old. He's still got his boots on. Have you seen Ollie put in work? Okay.
It's true. Okay, rookie hooker Joey Baki has played in the squad now with an injury to Chad Goff. Get to know Joey a little better in this mic'd up segment. We'll get to that in just a moment. Let's start previewing the Seattle game coming up Saturday, April 23rd, 8 Mountain Time. Get your tickets on WarriorsRugby.com. TV situation, KMYU, we've got the broadcast this week, streaming on KSLSports.com, the Rugby Network, radio, ESPN 700, 960. Okay, it's Utah and Seattle. Obviously, we're not going to necessarily push the Utah can still make the playoffs run here, like Ollie talked about. It is about blowing up and ruining everyone else's day. So Seattle comes in 4th in the West by 1 point. They're trying to get into the playoffs. In the league, they kick a ton. They make a bunch of penalty goals. They're good at lineouts as well. This is a big physical team that has some burners on the outside as well. This will be a fun matchup.
It's always tough when Seattle comes to town. They always play on the fringes of the law. They push the limits of what is both sportsmanlike and within the legal parameters of the game. They come in with something different, and they're well prepared. They've got what may be the MLR player of the year in Reichert Hadding playing at number 8, and he's had an unbelievable season, has really found another level to his game. So they're going to have to really work hard on stopping not only Reichert's versatility on both sides of the ball, but executing the basics and fundamentals of rugby at an elite level is what it's going to take for this Warriors team. There's injuries all over the lineup and all throughout the club. Guys are playing out of position to fill in gaps, and it really takes to a man the execution of the fundamentals at an elite professional level to get it done now.
Let's talk about some of those players to watch. You mentioned Reichert adding 6 tries for the 8-man, tied for second in the league. Tavite Lopetti, first on the team in meters run. Keep an eye on him at center. And then AJ Alatimu, the fly half. He's very good with the boot.
Alatimu was great in last week's match as well, marshaling his team around the field, really makes plays. He's comfortable now in this lineup and what's expected of him. He's become an incredible playmaker in Major League Rugby.
They've already met this season. It was week 2. Utah played on a Sunday and then went up to Seattle on a Thursday. It was this weird scheduling quirk. Lost 20-17, scored a late try to make it a little bit closer. So one of those 4 close losses, and Utah's certainly shown it can compete with some of the best in the league and even beat LA, right? One of the 2 wins this season. So yeah, I'm expecting a good game. I'm just hoping Utah continues to play motivated, even though the playoffs aren't totally there, that the guys show up, and I think they will, and that they pull off the upset this week.
I don't think there's any doubt about the motivation in the heart of this team, right? Like we've seen them late in games fight and scrap through last year's reputation as the comeback kids and this year's reputation for really just being a scrappy, do-what-it-takes team, even in the losses when you realize 4 of those games are by 3 points or less, right? So we're talking about a completely different storyline with 1 score in some of these matches. So now wearing that mantle of spoiler, of the destroyer of dreams, we can come in and be Thanos and snap our fingers and wreck half the Western Conference at this point, because we're literally staring at the top of the table at each of those teams coming into Utah, and we can do a lot of damage and really spoil the party for a lot of teams as we look down the barrel of the last, what are we at, 6 games of the season now?
Yeah, I was looking to my right because I have a bunch of the Avengers sitting here, and I just thought maybe I could bring in Thanos, but I don't have Thanos. I'll just bring in Iron Man. So there you go. Yeah, I'm like, this should be like for my 3-year-old son. This is for me. Who you want?
I mean, you could pull the I am inevitable, and then he snaps his fingers,
Yes.
I mean, that's the Warriors are inevitable.
Exactly.
They're going to put it together.
Exactly.
69 points in the game against Dallas. This team can score tries when they put themselves in amazing positions, but it's going to take all 23 guys on that roster on game day, all 80 minutes to get it done against Seattle.
Okay, we mentioned Joey Baki mic'd up. Let's go to that now and hear from the rookie.
I don't fuck with you, Joey.
Dude, it's my day. This is my day. You're ruining it. I'm on mic.
Oh, he's on.
Say something to all your fans. This is Nick. He does everything for us.
Robbie and Saya.
I have a fan page
Yeah, you have a fan page.
that my friend made.
Hi to all Joey's fans. Thanks for your support. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you.
Dub Bears.
Doubles.
Mike Dicka. Baby, no. Go Bulls. Oh! Come back! Come back! They're come back! Fire!
That's what it's like to be at practice right there. Yeah.
I just love how down to earth Baki is. He's such a great dude. Made the switch to hooker when he came into the league. So he's learning a new position, and really it's been a baptism by fire for the kid.
Okay, we're in the midst of the NBA playoffs, and certainly around these parts, we're hoping the Utah Jazz do some good work against the Dallas Mavericks. It's tied at 1-1. Game 3 coming up in Salt Lake tomorrow. But the team was asked recently who they want to win the NBA Finals. Here's what they said.
NBA Finals. Oh, Jazz, baby! Oh, Utah Jazz, man. Utah Jazz, baby. Let's go.
To be honest, I have not watched any basketball, but go Jazz.
Suns, baby. Chicago Bulls. Utah Jazz, baby. Suns. NZ Breakers.
What did he say?
Yeah, let's go Jazz. Jazz. Detroit Pistons. Bruh. Bucks. I know anything about basketball. Bucks, Jazz. Who's up? Jazz, baby. Let's go. Oh, Jazz. Jazz. I'm assuming they're in the final.
They are not Tyler Fisher, but Zion Going mentioning the New Zealand Breakers was fantastic.
Shouts out to the New Zealand Breakers, the NBL in New Zealand. top team. You know, I mean, they're not going to do a whole lot compared to an NBA franchise. It's basically like playing in the NCAA tournament, which is where and going out in the round of 32. That's about where the Breakers are at, talent-wise.
Yeah, exactly. So good stuff. Good personality. Sun's getting some love in there, but yeah, and then Mike Gieselman from Michigan is Detroit Pistons eliminated.
Wah wah wah. Go Jazz.
Go Jazz is right. Let's go.
So if you are wanting to get your kid involved in Warriors rugby or just get them exposed to the game on any level, our very own Ashley Burge does an amazing job with these junior Warriors camps and clinics, connecting the state of Utah through rugby, exposing an entire new generation to the game. These clinics are amazing. To watch Ashley in action with these kids is fantastic. And so many of the Warriors players, there's a great clip on Instagram of Mikey Teo throwing the ball around with some of these kids at these Warriors clinics. Go to junior.warriorsrugby.com and get your kids signed up. The price is unbelievable. The experience is unforgettable. That's jr.warriorsrugby.com.
Good stuff. Ashley does great work. I've seen it in person. It's fantastic. Okay, it's our privilege now to welcome in the CEO of USA Rugby, Ross Young, to Dub Nation. Man, we have a lot to talk about, too. Some good work being done in the pursuit of World Cups in 2031 and 33 for the men and women. Ross, welcome to Dub Nation. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Gents, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, awesome. We know recently you met with World Rugby to talk about the bids and in Denver, I think. How did those go? It sounds like it's going well.
It's going really well. And what's been refreshing for me, having been on the other side of the fence for some number of years, the way they've moved on with the process. So, when we started this, it was very much the old traditional bidding process, which always has a fair degree of politics involved in it. And we put together a good bid team with Salt Lake's own Jim Brown leading the charge for us. Obviously, Jim's got a lot of experience in major events, FIFA, Olympics, etc. I've known Jim for a while, and we did hard yards early to try and ensure that we laid the case down and made it as convincing as possible that around the capabilities for the US in hosting, and have ended up for these last couple of months in what's called a targeted dialogue phase, and having the executive team of World Rugby out here to explore some of the detail of the bid and get to what's hopefully the final stages of those contractual discussions was great. We've, everyone's probably aware, we've submitted the final batch of documentation and including a letter of support from Joe Biden. We've got bipartisan party support and a congressional caucus in place to support this bid. So we've got all the pieces in order, and hopefully, we get that ratification in May the 12th in Dublin.
So how does that support work when you go to these congressmen, when you go to these senators, when you go to the governors of these states, when you talk to the president? Do a lot of them say, what's rugby? Do we play rugby here in America? Or are they familiar with the growth of the game? And are you surprised by the reaction of how knowledgeable some of these guys are about the opportunity to have a World Cup?
Yeah, very surprised. And it goes all the way down the governmental status. I think, initially, before we went down the federal government route and with some of the congressmen, it was putting out expressions of interest for cities and venues to host. And I think that's what blew World Rugby away as much as anything else, was the massive underlying desire, the fact that people are aware of where Rugby World Cup sits within a global stage of ranking of major events, and then an understanding of the game that follows it. So I think all of us that have been around rugby for a while know that you need your ambassadors in high places, you need your support in high places to be able to break down a few barriers. And even Biden himself has been documented in some press recently, connections with Ireland and Rob Kearney, and it's same. There's a history of presidents way back to Clinton and Bush that have been involved with the game. So I think the overall understanding, and the MLR has done a great job in getting the brand of rugby out there and making it more accessible to more people as well, and that floats through. So it wasn't a hard sell. It genuinely was not a hard sell. World Rugby positions itself, and it's acknowledged on the world stage. It's the third biggest global sporting event behind the Olympics at number one and the Soccer World Cup at number two. When you look at numbers of countries it gets fed into, and one of the big stats that people are not aware of is where Rugby World Cup sits within average fan attendance per game. It's Japan had 99%. England before that 94%, and all averaging 55, 60,000. The average attendance. There are more games in the Soccer World Cup, for example. So, when you overlay the infrastructure that's in place in the US and the potential to fill some of those venues with attractively priced tickets, it gives us the ability to put a strong case, which has been really well received all around.
Which is awesome. We're talking to Ross Young, CEO of USA Rugby here on Dub Nation. Obviously, Major League Rugby would like to think is having some kind of influence on not only the Eagles in the future and their success, but also the bids here and having the best of the league. What role has Major League Rugby played and will play, you think, in the success of USA, not only for bids, but for being more competitive and breaking out of the first couple rounds?
It's the MLR. A couple of the MLR owners have helped financially support. It's never cheap to put some of this, this work together in a bid. So the MLR maybe to the board. I think the support has been fantastic, but the real work won't start until we get the thing awarded, and I think it's one of the main things that we've been talking about with World Rugby. And I spoke at the face-to-face MLL board meeting along with Alan Gippin, the CEO, in December in DC. November in DC, and started reinforcing a bit of the vision. Is we get this thing awarded, we've all collectively got the work to do to continue to raise awareness. Get more bars on seats on an annual basis, get more youth programs running. The advantage of the MLR is they have footprints in major geographies, which are going to be key to the game being successful and ultimately World Cup being successful. So the buy-in from the MLR, the seat governance and all the way through is, an understanding that you saw what the Soccer World Cup did for soccer here, but most of that happened after the event. Well, we shouldn't be waiting until after the event. We should be using the hook, if you like, of World Cup to build a proper plan that we all buy into, that aligns with the twofold focus. We all want the game to grow. We all want more American players playing the game, and more successful men's and women's 15s team that are going to be hopefully be in a position to compete and bring the trophy home in 31 and 33.
So I know with all the struggles that USA Rugby has had over the past few years, and you've kind of navigated some of those, financially and perceptually, and now we've come out with a chance to host the World Cup. How does USA Rugby continue to extend outside of MLR's reach in growing the domestic club rugby in all of these cities and markets where there's not an MLR team? How can USA Rugby continue to support those clubs and feed them the resources that they need?
You're 100% right, and that's what we've got to all agree the plan. I mean, everyone talks about this, the pyramid and feeding the base of the pyramid from youth, where the college game sits, and let's be frank, the college game's fractured at the moment. And yeah, the good old traditional senior clubs, it's they're sort of dealt with differently in the different geographies you've got, but all that base has to be there for the rest of it to grow off. It's like building a tower block, isn't it? If the foundations aren't right, the thing's going to fall over, and that's the last thing we want to do is go ahead with these big initiatives without the infrastructure there to support it. And I think that the buy-in, and when you look at engagement, you look at youth engagement, where it sits, that everyone's got their role to play in that. And I think USA Rugby, along with the newly formed councils, if you like, because I'm not sure people are completely aware that part of the nightmares we've gone through has resulted in a number of governance restructuring elements with individuals, the youth and high school, collegiate and club controlling their own destiny a little bit more and being federalized and decentralized in running their own competitions. And they're also in a little bit of a learning curve with that. Now we've come out of COVID, and the reality of having to do those things on your own, with a number of those not having fully paid staff to do it, is tough. We all know, if you want to be professional, you need subject matter experts in that area. So we, post May, we want to get everyone together and really build out a plan so we all know exactly what our roles are. We all have KPIs. We all want to have targets that we want to achieve to make the environment better for everyone. And we've got to shamelessly use the global family to push back on that as well. Everyone knows that the US is the biggest sports and entertainment environment in the world, and rugby's not going to not going to take a huge chunk of that in short term away from the traditional areas. So, but building values in the sport will build values of Six Nations rights, rugby championship rights that sell back into the US. So, and those entities know that. So it's how do we garner their support to provide better infrastructure for men's and women's competitions, which hopefully we'll have some announcements in the next couple of months as well.
That's what I want to hear, Ross. I love it.
And then, because one of the most frustrating things when you try to build something centrally here is we haven't had a regular competition. We started with the America's Rugby Championship, which began to get traction, and it sort of disappeared. There's been Pacific Nations Cups before, but what we have to do to align ourselves with meaningful games are like against the likes of Fiji, Japan, etc., which makes it more aspirational, which will want more people to play professional rugby, which will create more growth at the bottom. You've got to do what's right at the top, but also have the feed the funnel at the bottom of it as well, and building out that plan, because all of it takes money. And I think that's the other key to it is we know that if we hit all our targets, we'll generate revenue out of a World Cup. But how can we pull that forward to start those initiatives now and have them funded? And it all becomes a natural engagement then, because how do you get sponsors if you've not got pure numbers? Well, if you don't have numbers, you don't get the value. It's we've got to start somewhere, and the investing in the right initiatives now to help grow will build value, which will bring more money in, which will allow us to build out more growth initiatives moving forward. And for me, that North Star, if you like, or that anchor to a plan, are the World Cups in 31 and 33. And I think we've got to put what's happened behind. We've got to put some of that history behind us, and we've all got to pull together in one direction. And the relationship with USA Rugby and the MLR in the very early days wasn't the greatest, and we are doing so much together. We are more engaged together in this, and I think ultimately this does pull everyone together, and we put rugby where it should be on the map in America.
I think having a Rugby World Cup in America is a goal we can all agree is good for the sport at every single level, to engage fans, to engage teams, to engage participants. It's such a great thing to have that leadership finally from a former player's perspective, to have somebody say, here it is from the top, and let us all get behind it and support it. So thank you for first coming out and saying it, and then for putting your actions where your words are and actually going out and getting us to this point even. So I appreciate everything, Ross, from knowing where my USA Rugby dues have gone over the years to getting to the point where we're realistically talking about a Rugby World Cup.
And it's so exciting. And Ross, we appreciate the time. Thanks for illuminating more about this process. And we look forward to hopefully good news on May 12th.
The fingers and toes across, gents, and more platforms like this that we continue to promote and sell, if you like. Just even from content wise, is fabulous. So appreciate having you guys having me on here. And you say when we get this thing and we put more meat on the bones of a plan, I'd love to come back and we can talk more about it.
100%. Ross, we appreciate the time. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Ross Young, USA Rugby CEO. That's exciting, man. Okay, purchase your season tickets today. As low as $52. You got to come see Utah play Seattle. There's still some good home games left on this season. Call 801-477-7652. Hey, congrats as we end to Steph and Thomas Tuivau expecting their first child. That's awesome.
The Warriors family continues to grow, man. There's something in the water. We keep having Dub Nation babies around here. I ran into Matt Jensen in the hallway at church on Sunday with a couple of his little ones, former Utah Warriors. So, it was great to see him and catch up with him for a little bit. Shouts out to you, Matt. I know you're watching. You check us out all the time. That's awesome.
Okay, well, that'll do it for us. Fun show today. Like and share this episode of Dub Nation. Follow the Utah Warriors on social media. We'll see you Saturday night, 8 Mountain Time, out at Zions Bank Stadium, or on TV, or on the radio, or on the web. Our thanks to Ali Kilifi and Ross Young. Today's show was produced by Billy Rathule with help from Mason Benson. For Banksy, I'm Jarom Jordan. Go Warriors!